My problem with Quantum of Solace. In the final days of the Pierce Brosnan era of James Bond, the films, while making record-breaking profits, were getting progressively sillier, with an over-reliance on special effects and gadgets. At the same time as the final Brosnan film, Die Another Day, was released, Doug Liman and Matt Damon reintroduced Robert Ludlum's Jason Bourne into the film world. The film was a tougher, grittier take on the spy genre, and with its success and its bigger box office grossing sequel, coupled with the critical backlash of Die Another Day,
I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't watched it. Believe what? I don't know, I wasn't watching.
it signaled to the Bond producers that changes needed to be made before another Bond film could be released. After a 4-year hiatus, Bond was brought back, or to coin the Hollywood term, rebooted, with Daniel Craig in the title role. Craig portrayed Bond as a raw-flawed, arrogant man who showed emotion for his actions and seemed a much deeper Bond than we'd seen before. Casino Royale is a much more human story, as we see Bond become the man we've grown to know, as he battles treachery, deceit and heartbreak. Also, there are certain moments that come across as more realistic than we're used to seeing in a Bond film. The best example of this can be the car crash. Normally, after a scene like this, Bond would be up on his feet as soon as the car stopped rolling. Here, he's knocked unconscious and then tortured. The film was a huge success, and in 2008, the first ever direct sequel to a Bond film was released, and I was severely disappointed. My problem with Quantum of Solace is that it seems to take a step backwards after the great realistic approach that was put forward in Casino Royale. Bond is once again portrayed as a Superman, who can sustain injuries and survive falls and then just walk away from them without so much as a limp. Casino was obviously inspired by the Bourne films, but Quantum seems to take its inspiration from the Bond films of the past, only now they rely too much on special effects and stunts rather than gadgets, which is starting a worrying trend of leaving the characters behind in the background. While it's true that there were no gadgets in the film, the Bond character basically becomes a machine who mows down anyone in his path, showing very little of the human side that we as an audience got to see in Casino Royale. Now I know it could be argued that it's the events of Casino that turned him into this man, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he's able to survive falls and attacks that the Bond in Casino would have been killed by. I know there's a need for suspension of disbelief when you watch these films, but following on from Casino Royale, I can't help but feel slightly let down with its sequel, and that's my problem with Quantum of Solace.
To the right! To the right!